Liopleurodon, the infamous sea monster from the Jurassic Seas, became a legend thanks to its portrayal in popular media as a colossal predator capable of swallowing dinosaurs whole. Many fans first encountered this marine reptile through dramatic depictions where it appeared as an 82-foot-long behemoth, dwarfing everything in its path and ruling the ancient oceans with unmatched ferocity. That image stuck, fueling endless fascination among Jurassic Park enthusiasts, who still debate whether such a creature could possibly exist today, hidden in the darkest trenches of our modern seas. In reality, Liopleurodon was a powerful but far more modestly sized pliosaur, a short-necked marine reptile that lived approximately 166 to 155 million years ago during the Middle to Late Jurassic period. The first scientifically described remains appeared in the 19th century, when paleontologists began piecing together fragments from clay pits and quarries across what is now southern England and northern France. The name itself, given in 1873, means smooth-sided tooth, referring to the polished, conical shape of its teeth that lack the serrated edges seen in many later marine predators. Early reconstructions varied wildly. Some 19th century artists imagined it as a long-necked plesiosaur-like creature, while others pictured a more crocodilian body with flippers. It was not until the late 20th century, with better prepared skulls and more complete skeletons, that scientists settled on its true body plan, a compact, muscular torpedo of a reptile built for explosive speed rather than endurance cruising. The largest well-preserved skull, discovered in the Oxford Clay Formation of Peterborough, England, measures nearly 5 feet from the tip of the snout to the back of the quadrate bone. That single skull alone hinted at an animal far more formidable than its modest body length might suggest. Typical adult Liopleurodon probably reached between 16 and 23 feet from nose to tail tip. The most generous estimates, based on scaling from the largest fragmentary remains, place exceptional individuals at around 26 to 33 feet. Still impressive, but nowhere near the length shown in popular films. Weight estimates for a 25-foot specimen range from roughly 1.5 to 3 tons, roughly the mass of a large male orca or a very heavy great white shark. This made Liopleurodon one of the top predators of its time, but not the blue whale-sized titan many imagine. What truly set Liopleurodon apart was its skull architecture. The jaws were massively built, with a wide gape that could open to an angle approaching 90 degrees in life. The front of the snout carried 4 especially large, forward-projecting teeth on each side of the upper jaw, teeth designed to puncture and hold struggling prey. Behind them sat rows of smaller, sharply pointed teeth ideal for slicing flesh. The lower jaw mirrored this pattern, creating a deadly trap. Biomechanical studies suggest bite forces in the range of several thousand pounds per square inch near the tips of the canines, dropping toward the back of the mouth where the teeth were smaller but still capable of shearing through bone and cartilage. Those powerful jaws worked in concert with an equally impressive sensory system. The nostrils sat far forward on the snout, allowing Liopleurodon to sample water currents for chemical traces of blood, bile, or other bodily fluids released by injured animals. Some researchers propose that, like modern sharks, it possessed an acute olfactory sense capable of detecting prey at distances of hundreds of yards in clear water. Its eyes, protected by a bony ring called a sclerotic ring, were large enough to suggest decent low-light vision, useful in the murky, plankton-rich waters of the Calovian and Oxfordian seas. The body itself followed the Ebus I classic pliosaur design. The neck was short and thick, packed with strong muscles that anchored the head during rapid lunges. 4 large, wing-like flippers provided both thrust and steering. The foreflippers, slightly larger than the hind ones, generated most of the forward power through up and down strokes, similar to the wing beats of a bird in slow flight. The tail, though not as flattened or crescent-shaped as in ichthyosaurs, still contributed to bursts of acceleration. Computer models of pliosaur swimming suggest these animals could reach sprint speeds of perhaps 15 to 20 miles per hour for short distances, enough to close the gap on a fleeing ophthalmosaurus or Metriorhynchus before the prey could react. Liopleurodon hunted in the warm, shallow epicontinental seas that covered much of Western Europe during the Jurassic. These were nutrient-rich waters teeming with life. Ammonites the size of wagon wheels, belemnites with bullet-shaped guards, shoals of small fish, and a variety of other marine reptiles. Evidence from bite marks on ichthyosaur and plesiosaur bones shows that Liopleurodon attacked animals of comparable size to itself. One particularly famous specimen from the Oxford clay preserves deep puncture wounds on the flipper bones of a cryptoclidid plesiosaur, wounds that match the spacing and depth of Liopleurodon canines. It was an ambush predator rather than a pursuit hunter. The strategy likely involved slow cruising near the surface or along the seabed, using its excellent chemosensory system to locate potential meals. Once a target was detected, Liopleurodon would coil its body, then explode forward in a sudden lunge, jaws gaping wide. The initial strike aimed to impale or severely injure the prey. Subsequent bites would tear off large chunks or crush the skull and spine. Many paleontologists believe it could swallow smaller animals whole after a few powerful shakes to break bones and reposition the carcass. Competition in these seas was fierce. Other large pliosaurs, such as Similestes and Pliosaurus, shared the same waters and probably occupied similar ecological roles. Smaller, more agile Metriorhynchid crocodiles hunted in the same shallows, while long-necked cryptoclidids and plesiosaurs cruised for fish and squid. Juveniles of Liopleurodon likely fed on smaller prey to avoid direct conflict with adults of their own species or larger rivals. Cannibalism cannot be ruled out. Bite marks on some pliosaur bones suggest that larger individuals occasionally turned on smaller ones of their own kind. Despite its dominance, Liopleurodon did not last forever. By the end of the Jurassic, roughly 145 million years ago, the shallow seas of Europe began to deepen and cool as plate tectonics reshaped the supercontinent. The Calovian Oxfordian faunas that supported these giant pliosaurs gradually gave way to different predator guilds. Liopleurodon and its closest relatives disappear from the fossil record well before the famous end Cretaceous extinction 66 million years ago. Mosasaurs, polycotylids, and elasmosaurs would later fill similar apex predator niches in the Cretaceous oceans, but they were different lineages with different adaptations. The idea that Liopleurodon somehow survived into modern times appears only in cryptozoology and speculative fiction. Reports of giant sea serpents or unidentified swimming objects occasionally surface in tabloids or online forums, but none have produced verifiable evidence. Photographs, tissue samples, or clear underwater footage that withstand scientific scrutiny. Modern oceans have been extensively mapped, trawled, and studied with sonar, submersibles, and satellite tagging of large marine animals. A 30-foot air-breathing predator would need to surface regularly and would almost certainly have been documented by now if it still existed. Yet the fascination persists, especially among those who grew up watching certain blockbuster films. The exaggerated size and dramatic behavior captured public imagination in a way that few other prehistoric animals have. Liopleurodon became the symbol of the untamed, monstrous deep, an archetype that taps into ancient human fears of what might lurk beneath the waves. Even knowing the real animal was smaller and lived millions of years ago does little to diminish that primal thrill. The true Liopleurodon, stripped of cinematic exaggeration, remains one of the most impressive marine predators the planet has ever produced. A 25-foot missile of muscle, bone, and conical teeth, it ruled its world through speed, power, and sensory precision. It did not need to be 80 feet long to inspire awe. Its real story, pieced together from clay pits, museum drawers, and careful biomechanical analysis, is every bit as compelling as the legend it inspired. Liopleurodon ruled the Jurassic seas not through sheer bulk alone, but through a combination of lethal anatomy and predatory intelligence that made it one of the most efficient killers of its era. Its short, muscular neck allowed rapid side-to-side head swings, perfect for delivering devastating bites from unexpected angles. The flippers, broad and hydrodynamically shaped, gave it superb maneuverability in tight spaces, crucial when hunting among reefs, lagoons, or the cluttered bottoms of ancient seaways. Unlike the more streamlined ichthyosaurs that relied on constant forward motion, Liopleurodon could hover, turn on a dime, and strike from a near-stationary position, traits that suited the ambush lifestyle perfectly. Fossil evidence paints vivid pictures of its daily life. Tooth-marked bones from the Oxford clay tell stories of violence. A Metriorhynchus crocodilian with a crushed skull, an Ophthalmosaurus whose tailstock bears deep gouges matching Liopleurodon's canine spacing. Even fragments of ammonite shells showing puncture patterns from failed attacks on shelled prey. One particularly telling specimen is a partial pliosaur lower jaw from France that preserves healed bite wounds inflicted by another large pliosaur, likely a conspecific. These scars suggest that territorial disputes or competition for mates sometimes turned lethal, even among members of the same species. Reproduction remains one of the great unknowns. Like most Mesozoic marine reptiles, Liopleurodon almost certainly gave live birth to relatively large, well-developed young, rather than laying eggs on land. A newborn might have measured 4 to 6 feet at hatching, already equipped with sharp teeth and strong flippers to evade immediate predation. Growth was probably rapid in the early years. Juveniles would have fed on schools of small fish, squid, and juvenile marine reptiles until they reached a size where they could tackle larger prey themselves. By the time they approached adulthood, they would have become the unchallenged apex predators of their local waters. The decline of Liopleurodon coincided with broader changes in the late Jurassic marine world. As the supercontinent Laurasia continued to fragment, ocean currents shifted, water temperatures dropped in some regions, and nutrient patterns changed. The rich, shallow, epicontinental seas that once supported dense populations of large marine reptiles gradually transformed into deeper, more open water environments, less suited to ambush predators of Liopleurodon's type. New groups began to dominate, long erostrine teleosaurid crocodiles, increasingly specialized ichthyosaurs, and early ancestors of the clades that would explode in diversity during the Cretaceous. By the Tithonian stage, roughly 145 million years ago, Liopleurodon and most of its close relatives had vanished from the fossil record. Millions of years later, when the asteroid struck 66 million years ago and ended the reign of non-avian dinosaurs, pliosaurs had already been extinct for nearly 80 million years. The oceans that followed were reshaped by mosasaurs, giant sea turtles, and enormous filter-feeding fish, but none carried forward the exact body plan or hunting style of the Middle Jurassic pliosaurs. Liopleurodon's lineage ended quietly, leaving behind scattered bones in clay and limestone that waited centuries to be unearthed. Today, the idea of a surviving Liopleurodon belongs firmly to the realm of myth and wishful thinking. Modern seas are among the most thoroughly explored environments on Earth. Commercial fishing fleets, naval sonar arrays, deep-sea submersibles, whale tagging programs, and constant satellite monitoring have cataloged virtually every large air-breathing animal that surfaces regularly. A 30-foot predator that must breathe air would leave unmistakable traces. Sightings, photographs, video, DNA, and water samples, or at the very least consistent acoustic signatures. None of these exist beyond anecdotal stories, grainy footage explainable by known species, or outright hoaxes. Cryptozoological claims of living pliosaurs or sea serpents matching the Jurassic predator usually crumble under examination. Many supposed sightings describe animals far too large, with features borrowed from multiple extinct groups or even modern whales and sharks. Others rely on cultural memories of sea monster legends that predate paleontology itself. The real ocean still hides wonders. New species of squid, fish, and invertebrates are described every year. But a relic population of 30-foot air-breathing reptiles is not among them. Yet the absence of a living Liopleurodon does nothing to diminish its power over our imagination. It remains the perfect emblem of the deep-time abyss, a creature that needed no exaggeration to terrify and fascinate. The real animal, 20 to 30 feet of streamlined muscle, armed with a 5-foot skull full of ice-picked teeth, was already the stuff of nightmares for anything swimming in the Calovian seas. Paleontologists continue to recover new specimens, refine bite force models, and reconstruct ancient food webs, each discovery adding another layer to our understanding of this lost super predator. For anyone captivated by the Jurassic oceans, Liopleurodon stands as proof that truth can be more gripping than fiction. It did not need to be 80 feet long or swallow cars whole to earn its place in our collective nightmares and dreams. It simply had to be what it was: fast, smart, unstoppable in its world, and gone forever. If this glimpse into the real Jurassic sea monster has hooked you, there is so much more to explore. We dive deep into the forgotten predators, the lost worlds, and the science that brings them back to life. Hit that subscribe button on the channel right now so you never miss the next prehistoric deep dive. Turn on notifications. Drop a like if Liopleurodon just became your new favorite extinct beast, and let us know in the comments, what other Jurassic monster should we cover next? Your suggestions keep these videos coming. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next hunt through deep time.